Hello and welcome to the Bulletin with UBS on Monocle Radio. Each week, the sharpest minds and freshest thinkers in finance take you beyond the numbers and hype, right to the heart of the big issues of the day. This week, we're once again interrogating the compelling economic case for investing in women entrepreneurs. We're going to hear from friends of the show, Emma Wheeler and Marianna Mamou from UBS, about their work on and passion for supporting women's wealth, as well as their involvement in recognising exceptional female founders. On that latter point, we'll also talk to two such talents recently recognised in UBS's annual awards for inspirational women founders. My colleague Chris Chermak was in the chair this week, and he had the pleasure of talking to an array of talents. Emma Wheeler, head of the Global Women's Wealth Programme at UBS. Marianna Mamou, head of Advice Beyond Investing in the UBS CIO. This year's Female Founder Award winner, Christina Qi, founder of Databento. And also the Rising Star Award winner, Bahrain-based Wafa Abaidat, the founder of Playbook. Chris began by asking Emma Wheeler to start with a reminder about the compelling, enduring economic case for investing in women entrepreneurs.
As head of the Women's Wealth Programme back in 2019, we could see some rather shocking statistics around the lack of investment into female-led businesses, but also that female-led businesses outperform. And we saw some incredible stats around how much they could add to the global economy if they're invested in equally to their male counterparts. So this set us up on a journey to create the UBS Female Founders Programme within the wider Women's Wealth Programme at UBS, and to really support early stage female entrepreneurs to unlock this economic opportunity.
Marianna, perhaps to bring you in on that, there has been some great advancement across some sectors where women are involved as entrepreneurs, also with Emma making that case, that economic case for why that matters and the actual greater contributions they make to the global economy. But it has been uneven at the same time, maybe in some cases stalled. Could you walk us through some of that?
Yeah, maybe to begin with, I can give a bit more picture around the business case. Investing in women founders is not just a moral case, it's a strong economic and performance-driven case. And as Emma said, women-led startups consistently generate more revenue per dollar of funding. And that is because we see that they also have a lower burn rate. They are more cautious and careful with the money they spend, which of course we can also see that can be challenging for them. But also women control and influence a big part of consumer spending globally. And products and services are still, though, designed with more men in mind. So women founders are also uniquely positioned to identify and serve a large overlooked markets. We can say, for example, such as female health. And we see from research that when investors and inventors set out to solve a health problem, if we have male investors, they're more likely to solve for a male-oriented condition, while women-led teams solve for both. So I would say both in terms of return on investment, but also in terms of the breadth and the innovation, it makes sense to invest in female-led companies. Now, to your question, it is uneven, but unfortunately, the gender funding gap has been persistent over the last decades, and improvements have been very small. So globally, female-only founding teams receive a very small share of the venture capital, around 2 to 3%. And even when we have years that we see improvements, this is not a large or such a significant improvement. So it's a sticky and challenging problem. And we see the biases still persist. And it has also a lot to do with the fact that men still make up for a majority of senior investment decision makers.
Emma, to bring you back in on that, I mean, when we talk about some of those different aspects of capital flows that Marianna is mentioning there, because it is not just about investing in women entrepreneurs. It is also about investments for women as consumers, women also investing themselves. How are those pillars doing from your perspective? Is that something that's accounted for?
I believe that, women increasingly are investing in women as they see this opportunity. And we know that women are still not investing at the same rate as men. So as women are increasingly owning and controlling wealth, having the right kind of opportunities that appeal to them are really important. And that's where we see this sort of ecosystem of connecting our female clients with female-led businesses and really unlocking that huge opportunity. We know that if female entrepreneurs were equally invested in as male entrepreneurs, we'd add up to 6% to global GDP. So a huge opportunity, and also a huge opportunity to ensure that women are investing in the way they want to, because women are currently in control of approximately 35% of total private investable wealth. That's soon to be at almost 50% in certain parts of the world. And we're facing this great wealth transfer, this demographic shift, where we see that 57% of that $83 trillion approximately over the next 20 to 25 years will be in women's hands. So huge potential for the wealth managers, but also for female entrepreneurs if we get it right.
And Marianna, you talked about investing in general. You did mention healthcare as one sector. Perhaps you could expand a little bit on health, but also other sectors. Which sectors are doing well when it comes to investing in women, and which sectors are not doing quite as well?
Actually, I haven't really looked at the sub-sector level. I've been looking in the health and femtech specifically, because this is something that we believe is super important in terms of the gender health gap and in terms of opportunities and growth in the space, because it is definitely underserved. Women and have been underserved in this angle, and there's a lot of opportunities for innovation there. We know, on the other hand, that, let's say, women in more like in deep tech or in like AI, without the notable famous exceptions, of course, or in hardware are more rare, and they receive more biases in terms of their competency, because of the leaders that have been successful don't look like them. So anywhere that you can imagine biases in terms of believing that the person who is leading a company doesn't look like the typical successful tech entrepreneur come into play more intensely. Whereas if we were to look at segments like consumers, healthcare, or any solution that focuses a bit more also on women, that these biases potentially would be less strong. However, even in those cases, we see that there is still underfunding for female founders versus male founders.
Next up, Chris asked Emma to explain the objectives of the UBS Female Founder Award and to introduce this year's brilliant winner. Here's Emma.
This all came from innovation, actually, that's been happening in the UK around really identifying why female-led businesses aren't getting access to funding. And there was a paper published in 2019 called the Rose Review, and that really set us thinking that this could be a global issue, this lack of access to funding. And then Marianna in the Chief Investment Office wrote a brilliant paper called The Funding Gap that allowed us to really mainstream this topic globally. Then we created the UBS Female Founders Program. It has two components. One is the UBS Female Founder Award, and this has completed our 5th year of that award. And the second component is what we call Project Female Founder, which is our accelerator program that really supports early stage female entrepreneurs to get investor ready and be part also of a global community of other female entrepreneurs. We've had 105 founders in that program this year, and they're brought in by our client advisors who mentor them and support them with building their networks and join their growth journey. And that the accelerator is sector agnostic, but the Female Founder Award is very focused on fintech and enterprise tech early stage founders. And it's focused on those two areas because as a bank, we feel that we can properly judge around those areas.
Well, then Chris welcomed this year's Female Founder Award winner, Christina Qi, founder of Databento, and also the Rising Star Award winner, Bahrain-based Wafa Obaidat, the founder of Playbook. Here's Chris again chatting to Christina and Wafa.
Welcome to both of you. Glad to have you with us. Let me start with you, Christina. You are the winner of this year's Female Founder Award. How does that feel? What does it mean to you?
Oh man, it is such an honor. I'm super humble. I honestly couldn't believe that I won it. And I think that definitely it feels like I have a baton to pass now and a huge responsibility, on my shoulders. And so definitely, really happy and honored to have won that. And, makes me reflect back on my journey as, I rarely wake up and go, woe is me, I'm a female founder, right? Because it's just, those are the shoes that you are born in, right? But it does make me realize when I walk into a room full of other entrepreneurs that I do look different. And I was telling, Emma and Marianna this about a week ago when I had just found out I won the award, which was that I have been mistaken as a waitress in a room full of other entrepreneurs, actually 4 times in my career now. I remember, unfortunately, and I count the number of times I was mistaken as not an entrepreneur, but rather as a waitress. So instances like that where people think I don't belong in the room, as an entrepreneur, it affects, people's perception of me and it affects how I perceive myself and the confidence I have in myself. And so to win an award and to have that recognition definitely means a lot more to me because of, those experiences that I've had in the past. So definitely grateful to UBS Wealth Management for giving me the award.
Tell us what Databento is, what it does.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started Databento. I come from a hedge fund background, and basically during the hedge fund days, we actually dealt with data from multiple different providers, and it came with a lot of different headaches, licensing headaches, API-related headaches, and we wanted to create a data provider that didn't have the API-related and licensing restrictions. And so I just wanted to create a more friendly, modern data provider that wasn't restricted by a terminal, wasn't restricted by, different types of, just had a more friendly, user-friendly API, essentially. And so that's kind of what we do in a nutshell is we're more of a modern data provider. I guess one thing that's interesting about us is like our current industry that we're in is very quantitative focused, right? It's a very tech quant focused, quant finance focused. And so a lot of the audience, the people that we sell to are very male in general. And so I'm like a woman playing in a very male dominated arena here, which is very interesting. But yeah, it's been really great. We've enjoyed kind of being in this space, building a fantastic product. And it's only been 2 years since our launch. And we've definitely established ourselves as, we are the fastest growing company in this space by far. So I can definitely say that as a fact. I don't want to mention or tout any other numbers, but we're really proud of our growth and definitely proud of the team that we're able to build. And, we just provide market data and we make it easier and faster to access market data in a nutshell. So yeah, that's what we do.
Christina, it's so interesting to hear you talk about Databento, but also what this means to you personally. I do wonder then if you mentioned being a woman in a very male-dominated world. Does that influence in any way what you do with the company, how you created the company, your work as an entrepreneur? Or is it more about, kind of as you were saying at the outset, just being aware of that fact wherever you go?
Oh, yeah. Usually I'm not aware of it, because you kind of just grow up and you live in those shoes. It's like a goldfish in water. You're not aware that you're in the water until you're kind of jolted by, you go to an event and then you kind of look around and you're like, oh, I'm the only one. Or until someone, one of my instances was when someone told me to take their plates at an event. And then I realized, oh, they think I'm a waitress, right? And so instances like that make me realize that I stick out like a sore thumb in probably a way that I don't want to stick out in. And that's when I realized, okay, am I doing something wrong? Am I dressing the wrong way? How are my male colleagues able to, pass by and get by as colleagues? And how are they able to blend in better than me? Right. And so I definitely feel that way sometimes, but it doesn't happen that often, to be honest. And it's getting a lot better, I think, as I build a better product, right? And I think that's the other thing is as we establish a better product in this industry, I think the product starts to speak for itself. The numbers speak for itself. Our customers, as we win over more customers as well, people start to believe in us more. I think that helps a lot too. And so definitely, yes, there's a lot of skepticism from a company run by someone like me. Absolutely, right? The other issue, by the way, is that not only am I a woman, but I look a lot younger than I am. People tend to infantilize me a lot. Just to give you a sense, I'm almost 35 years old, but people think I'm like 15 because of how I look. I wish you could see me right now, but I get mistaken as a kid often. And I get it. It's a kind of, what do you call it? A double-edged sword or whatever. It's a good thing sometimes, right? And then in the business world, it can be a very bad thing, unfortunately. And so I get a lot of older people in the industry who will tell me, oh, your parents must be so proud of you. And my response to that is like, oh, thank you, Bob. Your parents must be proud of you too. And kind of he'll look back at me like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that, right? And so I tend to get infantilized a lot more because of the way I look compared to maybe male entrepreneurs my same age, basically. But I've learned how to deal with that with humor. I've learned how to, manage those kind of instances when they do happen. And I learned to just, I learned not to be mad about that. I could go home and be angry about all the times I get, they're called microaggressions these days. I feel like very few people look at women and be like, oh, you're a woman, you don't deserve funding. But I think it's very micro. It's very subtle. There's actually data, by the way, too. I don't know if you're curious about this too, but there's data on, so we, for example, we send our pitch deck through software called DocSend, and DocSend tracks how many seconds an investor views every page of our pitch deck. And they actually publish data at the end of every year showing, how on average for every customer out there that they have, how many seconds an investor views every page. And it shows that if you are a female entrepreneur, an investor will view the About Us page, the team page, a lot longer than if you are a male entrepreneur. So there's a lot more scrutiny on you if you are a female entrepreneur. And that's just a fact. That's just what the data shows. And so there's just data on that as well, that, you get a lot more scrutiny as a woman entrepreneur than if you are a man. And so we've just learned how to deal with that. That's just what the data is like. And again, I could be angry and sad at the end of the day, but I just choose to live my life and, deal with those as they come along. And and that's just me.
Next, Chris spoke to Wafa Al-Baidat, the founder of Playbook from Bahrain, and asked her what being recognised in this way meant to her.
I'm so excited to be here. And also, this is a little bit personal for me. It comes full circle. I'm such a big fan of Monocle. As a student, I bought every issue. I went to every Monocle cafe around the world. So it's wonderful to be here. And I'm really grateful for UBS for giving this opportunity, but also arranging this incredible interview. I'm so honored to win the Rising Star Award. I feel similar to Christina. I don't think we share enough of the hardships or the challenges behind the scenes. Like if you go onto Playbook's Instagram page or our personal Instagram page, it's just celebrating wins, celebrating corporate partners that we sign and new investors that we onboard. But, obviously in the back end, it's extremely challenging, and getting any recognition or validity by any entity like UBS and just like other organizations and programs that offer you opportunities is always such a win for us, because it'll open up doors for us. It opens up access to networks. It really we take a moment to celebrate. We kind of break our routine to, really take a moment to kind of bask in the glory of what we're able to achieve. So I'm so happy to be here, and also really excited for the next stage of collaborating with UBS and being a part of their accelerator program as well.
Playbook obviously has a very direct role in empowering women in investing. It is all about, I understand, helping women take control of their finances. So tell us how it does that.
Sure. So basically, just to kind of give you the story behind the name Playbook, girls do really well in school. We actually get better grades. But when women cross over to start working, you see the numbers really drop off when it comes to leadership positions. So our whole philosophy was trying to understand, why do women do really well in academia when they understand the game they're playing, the rules they're playing, and when there's an equal playing field. But when it comes to work, less than 10% of women make it to chief positions, less than 8% make it to board positions, less than 2% of venture capital goes to women. It's even less in the Middle East, which is where we're from. So it's about 1% as well. And I think what we were trying to do is figure out what is the playbook that we wish we were taught in school and university after paying these astronomical university fees. Why were we not taught about money management and finance and safeguarding our future and safeguarding our children's future? And stemming from that, we built this private network, which is what Playbook is. It's a private network for women to invest, learn, and also scale their access to network. It started off 3 years ago. We basically built over 20,000 minutes of original content. Half of it is in the financial learning space and financial literacy space. We run these amazing oversubscribed boot camps throughout the year, and we certify women so they can start their finance journey. We give them products that are closer to, the things that they can invest in, giving them opportunities where they can do fractional investments in real estate or invest in the private equity, private markets space. But really, before that, making sure that they're educated on those spaces. Playbook has over 11,000 members from 123 countries. We're a venture-backed platform. We use technology to kind of scale our content and scale the opportunities that we have. And our goal is to get 100,000 women access to these tools and opportunities. And last year, we actually acquired the largest angel investment network out of Riyadh called Women Spark, which had over at the time 50 active angels. And we were able to scale that to 110 active female angels in the region who invest in female-led startups. Just that alone as a subsidiary, we've made 22 investments and had one exit. So we are trying to be proactive and looking at Playbook as a platform to introduce new products and services that can serve the woman today around the world that wants to start her financial journey.
Finally, from you, I wonder if you could offer some advice for other female founders out there. You talked about what recognition from this award means. So what advice would you have for other aspiring founders, aside from working with UBS and, of course, visiting every Monocle cafe around the world?
Yes, of course. Top of my priority list is the Monocle, making sure you get your Monocle coffee. I think if I could share my experience in terms of what has worked for us or what our playbook to success was, I think really having a dedicated founder focused on fundraising is so key. And I think no one really talks about the fact that female founders have to raise differently than men do. We really have to be much more resilient and persistent. And I think along the way, women give up when they realize that, possibly one of the co-founders has to spend most of their time building those relationships with angel investors and strategic angels and venture capital and keep that going throughout the year. And I think we start building our startups because we are so passionate about solving a problem, but then understanding that to keep this going and to keep scaling this, if you require fundraising, is making sure you have a dedicated person that can raise year round and keep that money coming in. And then also understanding that it's so much more heartbreaking for women because of the fact that you do get a lot more rejections. And that's, again, similar to what Christina said, that's just facts. So it's definitely a male-dominated space where men invest primarily in other men. And I think, you can or cannot do what we've done, which is if we had brought in another male founder, data shows that we would have increased our fundraising opportunities by 50%. But no, we decided to do it the hard way. There's 3 female founders on Playbook, and we each have an active role. But primarily my role is focused on ensuring that we really close our rounds year on year, and my other co-founders really focus on building the products.
Christina, perhaps then to bring you in on the same question, listening to Wafa there as well. What is your advice for female founders as the winner of this award?
Actually, along the same lines as Wafa, I would say, in the fundraising process to normalize rejection. What I mean by that is I remember when I was in college, just as a quick story, when I was applying to even like internships and I was getting rejected from jobs and internships and stuff. I remember the first time I applied to an internship, I got rejected and I started crying. And, I'm sure you guys also remember that too. The first time you applied to some job and it meant a lot and you cried or it really hurt. And then after I applied to 100 jobs, it stopped, hurting. Right. And so same with the investing kind of fundraising process as well. As a part of my job description, actually today, even to, get rejected, essentially, if I'm not putting myself out there, if I'm not, fundraising, and if I'm not getting rejected by not only investors, but customers, if I'm not getting rejected by, people out there, basically, if I'm not putting myself out there, I'm not doing my job. And so not only customers, also potential job prospects who, people who are trying to apply to our company, I'm trying to get people to, join our company as well. So on all aspects, I think just normalizing rejection, because especially I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, but I did, my family comes from Asian culture, and in Asia, right, it's like about this whole culture about saving face, which is about, kind of getting rejected is seen as like a really bad and nasty thing. But one of the things I've had to learn, though, is that it's okay, that it's okay to be rejected. And in fact, it's a part of the job.
Emma, to bring you back in at this point with some final thoughts, I guess also related to that. 45% of UBS's client base are now women. Is that a sign of something? Is that sort of the advice that you would give female founders as well, to work with UBS and just don't give up?
Yeah, I think that's brilliant advice. Don't give up. It is a journey. And what I believe and we have seen as part of our programs is that supporting founders and really being on their journey with them gives them additional confidence and also the skills, to navigate those conversations and deal with rejection when they need to. But there's no clear path always for entrepreneurs. But I do believe that the support of organizations like UBS on that journey can really, really help them.
Marianna, some final thoughts from you on this. What would your advice be to female founders and women in investing in general? Also, stick with it.
Yes, of course. And women in investing has to do with start early and don't be afraid. It's a journey. And regarding today, I really would like to congratulate both Christina and Wafa for their wins, but also all the finalists. It was a really impressive collection of founders, and it was an honor and a pleasure to be a judge once again.
Marianna Mamou bringing us to the end of this edition of the programme here on Monocle Radio. You can listen again and explore more at monocle.com. That's where you can join the club and subscribe to Monocle magazine. If you want to discover more about the ways UBS can help you on your investing journey, head over to ubs.com now. This is The Bulletin with UBS on Monocle Radio. I'm Tom Edwards. Thanks for listening.